What is going on, JC Penni faithful? We are here at the precipice of the fun times. This is where everything gets great. This is the last week of the regular season. And we have I would say two teams that are out, and then one team that is locked as the number one overall seed in the bye. And then we got a bunch of other guys who could be anywhere in between. So, since I am very relaxed knowing that I am out this year, Jerry is very relaxed in a waffle coma, having done his Sacco punishment today. And the only other person who's very relaxed in the league is here with us on the podcast. Scotty, welcome. Inaugural appearance on the pod.
That's me. Thank you. Good to be here.
What's it like embarrassing us all in your first season?
I would
Just kidding. I don't care. Fuck you. All right.
I saw it coming, but,
So we'll go through the Week 13 matchups as we always do and kind of do a recap of what happened in Week 13 just to catch everybody up to speed. And then I have a fun little PowerPoint prepared to go through all of the playoff scenarios, what you need to happen for those of you who are still competing, and what you need not to happen. So Daddy made you some content, and let's get right into it. We're going to go, as we always do, even if my matchups don't matter anymore, we always start with the Commissioners matchup here on the recaps and on the predictions. And, yeah, you're a dick. Continuing to beat me up.
Yeah, easy enough, I guess, in one of my 3 bye weeks. But, Jake Browning getting the job done. Tyreek Hill as usual. You had 2 bagels, so I guess that's 2 ices. But another
the
day
tank
at work, I
the
guess.
Tank Dell bagel I'm gonna do. We haven't. So for those who are new to the pod, we have a new rule. That Brad. First of all, Brad's already in the chat. Can we talk about how the CF, because today's episode's titled "Deciding Playoff Spots Better Than the CFP," and Brad's already saying, "Can we talk about how the CFP nailed the top 4?" So already trying to troll Sam.
I don't think Sam and Jerry are in this right now, but
If they are, well, Jerry's definitely not. He's in a coma. But if Sam's watching, Sam, you and Brad, you can have those fighting words later. No, this is a story of my season, right? Like, I drafted Patrick Mahomes at 2 overall, and I picked Will Levis up when he was, I forgot to explain the ice bagel. I will in a second. And I picked Will Levis up in the week he blew up because Justin Fields was out for like 8 weeks. And together, Patrick Mahomes and Will Levis scored less than Jake Browning.
yeah.
Like, what is life anymore? Nothing makes sense. This is all complete and total horseshit. Chuba Hubbard, the biggest scorer on my team. Also, my team is just Windows sloppy seconds because I'm pretty sure Chuba Hubbard and Tank Dell both were Windows. By the way, back to the ice bagel rule. So the rule we've instituted this year, and it's really voluntary participation. We're going to institute the rule officially next season. But if you have any player who is a quarterback, wide receiver, running back, we're unclear whether it'll also count tight ends or defenses. But if any player puts up a 0, that player, you must chug a Smirnoff Ice for their bagel. Hence the name Ice Bagel. So I had 2 of those. One because Tank Dell got knocked out of the game, which also helped you because Nico Collins put up 30 fucking points.
Yes.
And Terry McLaurin didn't do anything. So like it's like salt in the wound. But I don't care anymore. I honestly don't care anymore. I'm out. I'm just playing not to be the Sacco because between 2 people doing their Sacco punishments this week and McMillan doing the SAT drunk and Jerry doing the Waffle House challenge today. Just seems like it sucks. I've never won the Sacco in 15 years. Don't want to win it now. And
not a good time to start. Yeah.
Homework assignment for the league. We need to come up with names for our championship trophy and last place trophy. So if you have ideas, throw them in the chat. And I'm not saying Car Ramrod, Brad. So, yeah, Tyreek Hill doing Tyreek Hill things. Devontae Smith twisting the knife on the fact that I should have traded for him. It is what it is. Your team is very good. Fuck you.
You're welcome.
Moving on Tell me about your thoughts on Window blowing up to the tune of 160 against James.
Yeah, this is actually a really big result, I think, because Window getting a ton of points puts him that much closer to maybe sneaking into the playoffs. And James, that loss puts him at a real risk of missing the playoffs. So a big deal definitely coming down to the last week. And Window's team really got the job done, as it does every once in a while. So
Window's team is completely boom or bust, right? It's like, Jordan Love, and he made that trade for Jordan Love, he went off. The biggest wind beneath Window's wings. Did you see all that alliteration I used in there? Wind beneath
Incredible.
Window's wings.
Yes.
I mean, come on. This is just poetry.
I guess you're the wind beneath our wings, Sean.
Oh, you flatterer. I still haven't forgiven you for embarrassing me this week. No, Achan is the biggest boon to Window's season. Coming back, I think he had 2 touchdowns, I want to say. And, like, he is the touchdown guy in Miami's running game. Mostert's still getting some. But Achan's the one who looks explosive. He's the one who is hitting the home run plays. Window's team looks surprisingly resilient late on in the year. The Dolphins defense, he beat me by like $3 or $4 on the waiver wire for him, and now they're tearing the world on fire. And Vic Fangio,
Seems to be a trend with you. People
Jalen
beating you
Ramsey.
by a few dollars to
everything just sucks. So yeah, I mean, huge win for Window, like you said, and James, huge loss, because if he won that game, he's in decent consideration for the bye. And instead, now he is truly fighting for his playoff life. He's okay, especially, like, he controls his own destiny, right? He wins, he's in. But
we'll come to the matchups later, but he's playing me, and he's currently not favored to win. And
you don't want to be playing the number 1 seed with 11 wins with your season on the line.
That is true. So, and I think McMillan is projected to have kind of a close score to James, so I have to take another look at it. But I think it is going to be really close, and James could be at a real risk here.
We've got some really interesting matchups in Week 14, and it's always exciting when there's parity at the end.
Yeah.
Moving to Jerry and Alex's matchup, and like we said, again, big results. Jerry pulling out a huge win to move to 4-9, and keeping Alex. This was a really bad loss for Alex.
It was awful for Alex. Also big for Jerry, in that he might, well, I guess there's a playoff for the Sacco, which I found out today. I did not know that, this being my...
Oh, yeah, no. There's definitely... It doesn't matter for Jerry. He's playing spoiler, but then again, we, in the Sacco playoffs, want to bring as many people down with us as possible.
Yes.
So, to the extent that we can do that, as Jerry did here, it's always what we want to do. And he did it. I mean, this, like I said... For Alex, he is not in the, as you'll see later, he's not really in the wild card conversation realistically. Yeah. So, like, if he had somehow snuck, I mean, he wouldn't have deserved it, but if he had somehow snuck to 8-5 instead of 7-6, he'd be sitting a lot better, controlling his own destiny with a win. He still technically, I think, controls his own destiny, right? Or no?
And also, the Ramondre injury is really a bummer for him. But yes, he does. If he wins this week, I think he is in no matter what.
Because no, wait. No, he's not.
Oh, yeah, because if Zach, you have your whole
we'll get
but
we'll get to the PowerPoint.
We'll get to that.
But
yeah.
Just look at the matchups. Like, honestly, Jason Smith's in the chat. Hi, Jason. Honestly, the big thing for Jerry was he finally got quarterback play, because he was dealing with the Joe Burrow thing all season. Mm-hmm. He was dealing with injuries to Cooper Kupp for part of the season. Joe Mixon was inconsistent as hell all season. And all three of those guys, his quarterbacks put up 40 between them. Cooper Kupp puts up his 10 as usual, but Joe Mixon put up 26. I mean, those were the difference makers. But he did get nice bagel because of Noah Brown. So, technically speaking, if we're counting tight ends, I know some people don't ascribe to that rule, but Alex also had one. So lots of zeros.
I think we count tight ends, to be honest.
That's the point, right?
Yeah. And for Alex's team, even if he gets into the playoffs, it's going to be a bit rough with Stevenson going down. Sounds like he might be out. I'm not sure how long it's going to be. He'll be out. He might be back for like the first, or maybe the second round of the playoffs, it looks like. But
yeah, that's a great point.
It's going to be tough.
The closest matchup of the week, Zach, of course. And this was, by the way, if there is a win that typifies Zach, this was it.
And it was so critical, too.
Yeah.
Just completely critical that he won this week.
Yeah.
And if he had lost, he would have been almost certainly. I mean, he would have been neck and neck with Alex, really, but he would have been at a much higher risk. And now he's pretty much safe, barring like something catastrophic. But
he is completely safe. Also, shout out to the Nova crew in the chat. We got Brad and Jason Smith there. We have 5 concurrent viewers right now. Is this the most concurrent viewers we've had all time? Who knows? No, but I don't. The thing with this, so just to be clear about what we're talking about with the luck thing, because Zach's a luck box. At the end of the game, Trevor Lawrence, who has been just demolishing the Bengals defense all night, driving down the field, gets injured, and but for that, if he had scored that touchdown, it's in theory the game, right?
Yeah, I mean that's 4 points right there, so 4 and a few. So
yeah, Lawrence going down gave Zach the win. As Jason McMillan just commented in the chat. But it also would have been a huge loss for McMillan because all of a sudden he could have been 6-8.
That would have been a real long shot for him to get on record, I think. But
or he would have been he would have been 6-7. Could have won, gone to and again, it's a long shot. But the thing that would have helped him is he's up on points against like a lot of those 7 and.
That's true. So if he was
teams.
even, he would have that points tiebreaker. So that would have been big for him.
So it would have at least kept him in the running for the standings. It would have been a threat to James and to Alex, but Zach did them a huge favor by knocking Jason out of the standings contest.
But again, with McMillan's team, and he mentioned it in the group chat today, but his quarterback injury issues are going to be pretty rough for him, even if he does make it to the playoffs. But we'll see how he deals with that.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's again these are 2 guys. I mean, the big performers for McMillan were CMC, Pittman, and Debo.
Yeah.
And for Zach, it was his running backs Henry and Kamara, but he had decent wide receiver production. But still, it's like I do worry about McMillan's quarterback depth. But then again, do you really want to be Zach's quarterback pairing of Russell Wilson and Sam Howell? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Zach's not in a much better spot for the playoffs, to be honest.
And yet
he always scrapes it through. Look at 140 points with this.
He's going to get the bye. Like, I'm sorry, Brad, but he's going to get the bye. So, let's get to the last matchup, speaking of Brad. And speaking of 2 people in the chat right now, Brad just noted, by the way, Lawrence's backup put up about 10 after his injury.
Yeah.
But Brad and Jason Smith, gets a reasonable win. Didn't get a lot of production out of his running backs, but got enough out of his wide receivers to compensate for it. Really, again, we're talking about running backs. It was, I think, Jahmyr Gibbs and Garrett Wilson and Logan Thomas that let Brad down, but neither one had a really bad day. But it's a huge win for Jason Smith because, again, if he's all like 6-7 is a world of difference, right?
Yeah, it's huge.
Now he controls his own destiny, and for Brad, that would have put him in a major driver's seat over Zach for the bye conversation.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think Brad is really in the driver's seat for the bye. We'll see what happens, but. Yeah, a huge win for Jason. Even though his team is really strong, he somehow went on a losing streak there. I'm not sure what happened, but and then seems to be climbing back into things, and he could be the hot team coming into the playoffs. We'll see how it goes.
There are a couple teams I wouldn't want to play in the playoffs, and we'll talk about them when we get to the Week 14 predictions. But we'll get there. So. let's put a pin in the recap. The recap's done. We don't need to put a pin in it. Let's talk about. That was a little bit too big. Hold on a second. I'm going to shrink this down for you. Doing it on the fly. Let's talk about the playoff predictions. So, or the playoff, I guess, machine. Isn't that what they call it on ESPN? The playoff machine.
The playoff picture.
Yeah, the playoff
Something
picture.
like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
So here is, we're going to go through top to bottom and look at where everybody stands, and I'll give kind of an overarching view of what you need to happen, what you need other people to happen. And if I say anything wrong, the good news is we still have 4 concurrent viewers in the chat and 1 co-host to be able to correct me. So please feel free.
I'm sure they'll let us know how stupid we are. So
yeah, of course they will. So first things first, we've got Boy Bye, which of course is my co-host Scotty. Scotty is 11-2, over 1,700 points. He is not only the number 1 seed, but he is the number 1 team in scoring. As a result of those horrific facts in his rookie season, he is guaranteed a first-round bye. And as I wrote in size 44 font, fuck off. So we know that the 1 bye is locked up here. We're really only dealing with the 2 teams that are in but there's actually 4 teams that could, I think, in theory, win the bye. But there's 2 teams that are in the sweet spot. The 8-5 sweet spot is what I'm calling it. So first, we'll start with Brad because he is slightly ahead in points. He's the number 2 seed. He is 5th in the league in scoring. Zach is slightly lower, about 36 points below him, but still at 8-5, the number 3 seed, 7th in the league in scoring. Both are locked for the playoffs. There is not I don't possibly see a way that either one could miss the playoffs based on the standings, because of how far down Alex is in points scored.
Yeah.
So the easy way for this to happen is one wins, the other loses. That settles the bye, obviously. If both win, they are, the edge is Brad's by 36.02 points. So Zach would need to outscore him by that margin. But if both of them lose, and really if either of them lose, but especially if both of them lose, it goes to this 8-6 clusterfuck that we'll have depending upon how many of the current 7-6 teams win. There are options for you to get the bye, but it depends upon who else is in that 8-6 standing range. So then we get to the not the 76ers, but the 7-6ers. And I used a reference to Ghost here. I don't know if there are any fans of the band Ghost, but you can easily at this range go from the pinnacle to the pit and anywhere in between. We will definitely talk about the scoring spread in a moment, Brad, because it is crazy this year, the amount of parity there is between 1st and 7th, and I do want to show that in just a moment. So really quickly, though, back to kind of the teams that are 7-6. This is the group Jason Smith, James, and Alex. Of these 3 teams, like I said, I don't see a way that. This is actually probably incorrect, because in theory, if Zach and/or Brad lose, they're not going to be the 4 or 5 seeds. But of Jason Smith, James, and Alex, 2 of the 3 are going to be in that 4 or 5. 2 of the 3 are going to make the playoffs in the standings, whether it's 2nd through 5th, right?
Yeah.
So of those 3 teams, I don't think more than 2 can get in. The other, if it's not Alex, can make the wild card. And thank you, Jason McMillan, for appreciating that reference to Ghost, since we do one of the songs we cover is Square Hammer by Ghost, our band. So let's talk about Jason Smith first, because he is, next to you, he leads the league in scoring. Number 4 seed, it's simple, right? Winning, you're in. And he is still in that bye conversation. Jason Smith, as much as he wants to talk about Frederick and trigger me, and he does trigger me when he talks about Frederick, we know this. But if he should be rooting for me to beat Brad, I know that goes against his Nova instincts. But he's got to root for the Frederick boy against the Nova boy this week. Because if I beat Brad, then he gets the bye unless Brad outscores him by 26.68. Or James also beats Scotty, which, let's be honest, Scotty's not losing at this point in the season. But James also could beat Scotty and outscore Jason Smith by 3.8 and end up getting the bye. Let me make sure I did that math right. I think I did. Yeah, I did. So that's Jason Smith's, like I said, win, you're in, win, and I win, and you're looking at a bye as long as nothing gets too wonky with the scores or not James doesn't light the world on fire. But if Jason Smith loses, he still could make the 4 and 5 spots in the standings if Alex loses or James loses and doesn't outscore him by 3.8. So there is wiggle room. Now Jason Smith is in the chat saying, please, Sean. Yeah, see, I want to hear, you know what? I better hear a lot of great things about Frederick over the next week, or I might decide I want to start, I don't know, Will Levis instead of Patrick Mahomes or Justin Fields. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to beat Brad's ass.
But Brad, if you don't beat Sean, you do not deserve to have whatever spot you get in the playoffs. So let's just be clear.
I'm going to beat Brad. I am absolutely going to beat Brad. I love being a spoiler. So that's Jason Smith's kind of scenarios. I'm doing just non-wild card right now. We'll get to the wild card as a separate issue later. So let's move to James. Number 5 seed right now, 4th in the league in scoring. Again, it's simple for him. Win and you're in. That's it. It's that easy. And I think the bye is unrealistic. He needs a lot to go right. He needs Jason Smith to beat Zach. He needs me to beat Brad. He needs to outscore Jason Smith. Sorry. Brad actually got me pretty good.
Brad's right. Brad's right here.
Did you see him in the chat? He says, Sean acting like he has the firepower to win out of spite. All right. Point made. Chop busted, fellow adult. Chop busted. So yeah, James needs Jason Smith to win, me to win. James needs to outscore Jason Smith by 3.8, and he needs to make sure he's not outscored by Brad by 22.8 or Zach by 58.9. That would be the bye situation. So I think the bye is extremely unlikely for James, but it's still possible. Again, James is still in a decent position because of he's 4th in the league in scoring.
Yeah.
He's still in the 4 to 5 spots as long as Alex also loses or Jason Smith loses and James outscores him by 3.8.
And all these scoring numbers are so close that the scoring part of it could go any way for anybody. So there's so many ways that this can go. There's so many universes. We are now creating so many timelines. Yeah, like 3.8, like what even is that? Like, I don't know.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
Except for the margin of victory that anyone has against me. So Alex, let's talk about Alex. Oh, Alex. I'm sorry that would you rather be out or be in this position? Obviously, you'd rather be in this position, but this is not the position you want to be in with your season on the line. He is the number 6 seed, but he is 8th in the league in scoring. And shout out to Jerry. Jerry waking up from his food coma, never wants to eat a waffle ever again, but I'm sure that melt was delicious. So my boy took down 10 waffles today and a melt.
Incredible.
So realistically, what Alex needs, first of all, he's got to win. If he doesn't win, he's done.
Yeah.
But he still needs some help. He needs either Zach to win or Scotty to win.
Which neither of those are unrealistic.
I would call you the favorite against James.
Yeah.
I would call Jason Smith the favorite against Zach, despite the record difference. But Zach has a horseshoe up his ass at all times. So neither one is particularly unlikely. So yeah, and then it's time for.
No, I'm saying no. The brakes, guys. Why aren't the brakes working?
Because I cut the brakes. Wild card, bitches. Yeah.
Scotty doesn't know.
What?
So
Oh my God!
it's that scene
Guys, I can't stop this van.
where
Oh, okay, I can see it now.
Charlie cut the brakes. Wild card, bitches. So here's the wild card standings. If any 7-6 team loses, this is why, like, realistically, if any 7-6 team loses, the Brad, Zach, all those guys aren't even remotely in the conversation. We're not even worried about the conversation. But any 7-6 team that loses is in the pit, the wild card pit, and the two other teams that are there right now are McMillan and Window. So realistically, of the teams that are, Alex, if he falls to the 7-6 pit, he's done. He's dead in the water. There are 4 teams that are, I think, in the wild card conversation if they find themselves at 6 through 10. They are Jason Smith, Jason McMillan, James, and Window. And I kind of laid out. I'm not gonna get copyright stricken for that 10-second clip. I better not. We're gonna have words. I probably will.
I think it's very unlikely, but go ahead.
Also, I hope I don't get copyright stricken because I had plans when the podcast started and I forgot about them. I had plans to just lay into Xfinity. Our internet went down at like 12 o'clock and I was without it until 8:45 because Xfinity service is great. But don't worry, they're raising our bill by $7. So, yeah, Xfinity, thanks for your wonderful service. It's fantastic. Scotty, you can't see because you can't see my camera when we do the Zoom thing, but I'm flipping off the camera right now. This is for Xfinity.
I lost internet on Monday for like half the day.
I'm switching to Glow Fiber the moment I can.
Yeah, same.
So this is the standings for the wild card. Jason Smith's currently your leader. Jason McMillan right on his heels, less than 2 points back. James right there with them, less than 4 points off of Jason Smith. Window does have a little ways to go. He's 34 points back, but it's not insurmountable by any stretch of the
imagination. It's not completely unreasonable,
especially in a season where like 140 to 110, or like we've had scores of up to 170, 180 this season.
Yeah, I mean, Window just scored 160 last week, so I mean, anything is possible.
And I will tell you guys, if you report this video, we have 7 concurrent viewers. This is amazing. This is a record. I gotta bring Scotty on the podcast from now on. It makes great content. But no, if anyone reports this video, if this gets reported in a copyright strike, I'm absolutely done with the podcast. Y'all can create your own content.
You should have put like McMillan's face over Charlie's face, and then he would have been safe.
Who has time for that? Honestly, it's fair. It's fair use, right? I would hope the FX and those guys would appreciate dollar store content here. Like
they need the
content
exposure.
on a budget.
Let's be
right.
real.
Yeah, has anyone even seen Always Sunny? Are they even popular anymore? I love it. I'm watching Welcome to Wrexham all the time. So that's the standings for the wild card. And then, last but not least, there's the 2 teams that we've got them right where we want them. Overconfident, thinking they got us eliminated, and that would be myself and Jerry. We got them right where we want them. You see the standings there. I would need to make up, realistically, of the teams that are in the wild card hunt between 171.46 and 205.94. Jerry, by my math, needs to make up 185.98 and 220.46, depending on who's in that wild card spot of those 4 teams we listed. So, if there's ever a day for a 300 to 400 point performance where every player puts up 40 burgers, that's where we're at. And also, Sam, shout out to Sam. I did that title for you. I am so sorry about Florida State. It's a huge travesty and disservice. Ridiculous. So we are making better playoff decisions than the CFP is. That is the slideshow. So
well done.
Thank you.
Thank you for running through that because I know a lot of people had a lot of questions.
So I hope that answers all of your questions. I will really quickly just put up the standings so everyone can see them, even though they're kind of standings for ants with how small the numbers are. Let me see if I can increase the size of that a little bit. Let me just... Oh, that's not it. That ain't it. That's a mistake. I don't know what I just did to my... There we go. Okay, I fixed it. All right. Hopefully that's a little bit better on your screens. So, yeah, this is the standings thus far. Ignore the Z, X's, and E's on the side. Those obviously don't factor the wild card that we have.
Mine matter though. Mine do matter.
But you just look.
Just got to point that out.
You look at the standings on the points for. I mean, again, the top 6 teams in terms of points, total points scored, are separated by less than 60. Like it's for a 1,700, point, or see, for 16 to 1,700 point total. That's a pretty close parity right there.
Yeah, honestly, it's really impressive. I mean, I think it shows that people are paying attention and know what they're doing. So
This has been, like, the last couple seasons have been incredibly competitive. I appreciate it, even though I'm not in it this year. Thanks, McMillan. Thank you, Sam. Look at this. I'm so touched. First of all, we got Jerry saying I'm the Florida State of this league. We got Sam saying you're fabulous, Sean. We've got Jerry saying I deserve to be in the playoffs, which, let's be honest, Jerry, neither of us do. And we got Jason McMillan saying that was legit good work, Sean. Thank you, guys.
I think McMillan is actually, if he misses the playoffs, he will be the Florida State of this league. But
that's true, Sandy. Yeah. So let's, at the moment you've all been waiting for, let's look at the matchups and make our predictions, and kind of do our permutations of who's in, who's out based on it. I will also, let me really quick, I'm pretty sure at FF Toolbox, and I don't know how accurate it is, but I'm pretty sure there's, where is it? Maybe that wasn't it. They're seeing me Google things. This isn't good. There it is, the Fantasy Football Hub. That was it. We're gonna do a playoff machine, and we'll pull that up as we kind of input matchups. So keep track of who you predict, Scotty. First up, we've got myself versus Brad.
Yeah, I'm going with Brad on this one.
I mean, you kind of have to, right?
You kind of have to. It doesn't look like Brad has fully set his lineup yet, so shame on him for not doing that before the pod. But
he's just missing a tight end, I think.
Oh, he doesn't have a tight end on his roster. Gotcha.
Right. He has Logan Thomas, but he's on bye, so he's got to pick up a tight end. But aside from tight end, I can't imagine he's making any changes to that lineup.
Yeah. I don't see a spoiler happening here. Even if it did, it wouldn't really matter to Brad except for the bye slot. But
I actually disagree.
You think?
Yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing. I do think I'm a little bit underprojected. I'm not saying that Chris Godwin's any good, but I do think Deontay Johnson at 8.7. I know that his average is 8, but he's also had some injury issues. I think 8.7 is a little bit under for him.
He's got Mitch Trubisky throwing to him, though,
still,
against New England. They do have a good defense despite being terrible.
I just feel like Deontay Johnson. I mean, I'm looking at I'm trying to look at his targets over the last couple weeks with Trubisky. It's like 8.85. Like, it's not terrible. He had a touchdown last week. I'm not saying he's gonna blow up for 20, but I do think 8.7 might be a little bit low. Projection,
he could get 10. Yeah.
The big projection I think is low here out of any. Okay, thanks. The big projection I think is low in my matchup is Raheem Mostert. I think putting Raheem Mostert at 10 when his average is 17 and he's the number 2 running back in fantasy is low. I just think my quarterbacks are due, right? Justin Fields and Patrick Mahomes. Like, at some point they gotta blow up. Probably in week 17 or 18. But
Yeah, I mean, Kyron Williams has a tough matchup against Baltimore. But Sun God has a good matchup. I don't know. And with Allen and Purdy, I think that'll be enough to get him across the line, but we'll see what happens.
So I've got me, you've got Brad. Let's move to we have, for the first time in podcast history, I think, we have a team name change mid-podcast. Jerry has changed his team name to the Florida State Seminoles. Shocker. And Window is projected to beat the Seminoles by almost 20. I don't know.
I think Window will win this one, but really the outcome doesn't really matter. It's just the number of points that Window can score. Can he score enough to make it into that wild card slot?
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm not sure. Achan maybe could rack up some points. The trade for Pollard could pay off against the Eagles. Yeah. So we'll see how many points he scores. Jerry, I don't know what to say about Jerry's team.
For what it's worth, I also go Window here. I just think there's too much good talent on Window's team and not enough on Jerry's or mine. Really quick, I just want to catch up the chat. Jerry tells people not to be nice to me. It sets a bad precedent that I'm going to think on people. And what else? Jerry said, Sean, please beat Brad. Sam saying Mahomes is under par 2 lately. Brad making a whipping sound whoosh, because of Jerry changing his team name. And Sam, of course, saying go Knowles. So let's turn to your matchup, co-host. Scotty versus James in what is maybe not a must-win matchup for James, but certainly would a win and you're in, right? So will James control his own destiny to that playoff spot?
I think I am likely to win. I'm going to pick myself. I think my receivers are too strong. I think he has a few injuries, and like with Andrews being out, Mayfield not playing great. Yeah, I'm just not sure. The X factor could be Jamar Chase. If Browning, has a great day, he'll be throwing to Jamar Chase, and that could put him over the top potentially.
Yeah, I do think that Jamar offsets Jake Browning's value. I do agree your receivers are absolute monsters, but then again, he has Mike Evans and Jamar Chase, right? So, this actually is a closer matchup, I think, on paper.
It is, and also Prescott has a very good matchup against the Eagles. I mean, I know as well as anyone how bad the Eagles secondary is. So
look at the averages, though. If believe it or not, and this is a crazy thought, but somehow the averages of James's players is higher than yours.
Yeah, that is pretty incredible.
So I am going to give the nod to James because again, James has been the bane of my existence. Beating me in the finals 2 of the last 4 seasons. So James will be a problem in the playoffs for you guys too. I'm gonna go James, and
more power to him because no sweat off my back if I lose. But we'll see what happens.
And Brad does have a question. Thoughts on Dak projected 24 against the Steelers D? Oh, sorry, that says Philly, not Pittsburgh. Ignore me. Thanks, Brad. Good looking out. Next up, we've got Alex. Desperation mode against McMillan. I'm not sure if McMillan has set his lineup. Maybe he has. It's just he's in quarterback hell. Derek Carr and Trevor Lawrence both projected 0 right now. If neither of them play, he's got to pick somebody up or go with a non-quarterback at his super flex, and he really doesn't have much talent on his bench at all.
And that's really good news for Alex. I think this is the matchup of the week. I think Alex, obviously, it's a must-win for him. And for McMillan, everyone's going to be watching what his score is to see if they get that last wild card spot. So, and with 2 quarterbacks, Jameis Winston he picked up. We'll see where McMillan ends up. But this will be the one I am definitely watching on Sunday.
This isn't my matchup of the week. I think I picked a different one a couple weeks ago, but I'm going to change it I think I picked maybe you and James as the matchup of the week. But then actually that's it. There's so many good ones this week. There really are.
Yeah. But
I would say it's the next one. But looking at this one, it's really tough, right? Because I got to be honest. Alex's lineup, I hate it. from
Same.
top to bottom, it's just a trash can of players, with the exception of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, with the exception of Hurts, yeah, it's Pacheco has gone off a couple times, so
has DJ Moore,
Yeah.
once or twice. It doesn't mean they're good players. Let me be clear. It doesn't mean they're good players for the purposes of fantasy football. So other than that, his lineup is a complete and total mediocrity personified.
it is and this is what separates a lot of the teams, is that some of these teams, like Alex's, are very boomer busts, and they're just not consistent. So, and that's really what's bitten Alex in the ass most of the season, I think. So.
All right, and meanwhile, McMillan has McCaffrey, Diggs, Debo. Pittman had a great week last week. He's got guys that can just go off. So, I think this is going to be close. I am going to get the thing you got to remember in my prediction for this matchup. I see Brad agrees with me. It's Jason versus Zach. Affects everything. Both teams could end up out or with a bye. And I agree with you, Brad.
But I would say that this matchup affects more other teams more directly.
Sure, because Alex does.
Because Alex and McMillan So both
that's
sides
true.
of it.
That's true. But I will say this: if there's one thing in the world we know about fantasy football, it is what? That it is completely and totally unfair. The fact that Zach is our defending champion speaks to the fact that none of this is fair. None of this is just. None of it matters.
Someone sounds salty right now.
And the teams that don't deserve to win will win. And so, with that in mind, Alex, who does not deserve to win against McMillan, who just did his Sacco punishment honorably and drank a lot of rum. Give me Alex.
I'm going to take McMillan.
That leaves what I would call the matchup of the week as Zach versus Jason. And the projection, I don't know if Zach has set his lineup yet. The projection is fairly close. Derrick Henry, the big question mark for Zach for Monday night. I don't know about Etienne's injury. I didn't hear about that issue.
He's been a little banged up for a bit, but I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, but Derrick Henry, I thought left the game on Sunday, and I think they do play on Monday night, which I think helps. But the line supports Jason Smith by almost 17.
Yeah, and I would take Jason in this one. Jason's team is really hot right now. He's pretty good across the board. Thielen is really, and maybe Zach Moss, though with Taylor out, you could say Zach Moss is actually a strength, but
Jason's team is just stupid good.
It is pretty good. Yeah. I expect, depending on how, I expect to be playing Jason at some point in the playoffs. So.
See, but this is why I hate Jason. Because he literally said, close, what are you talking about? 21-point favorite. He's such a dick about it. I will give Jason...
fuck you, Jason.
I will give... No, first of all, pot calling the kettle black here a little bit. You both are assholes. You both are good. I hate you both. But, Jason has been more pretentious about it than you have, Scotty. And I will say that Brad says in the chat, Jason, let's make a quick trade. Jason immediately snap okay, because he has a problem. But I will say this about Jason's trade. Jason has made trades over the last couple of years, and his trades have made his team better.
Yeah.
His team has gotten stronger over the last 2 seasons, and it's a credit to him having the stones to make deals with other teams and take those risks. And the last 2 years, they've really paid off. He is, I think, set. Thank goodness he went to Frederick Schools, because he has made some 200 IQ trades, and he is well positioned for a deep playoff run this year.
Yeah, and I was looking back at that today. It was really the trade with Brad that gave him ETN and CD that really set him up for success this year. So
ETN, 3rd ranked running back, CD, number 2 ranked wide receiver.
Yeah, so he really owes Brad something.
But the
if
thing
he
about
wins the championship this year.
The thing about Jason is he's like his team from top to bottom. Like look at his running back core. Yeah, he's got Zach Moss in right now. You know why? Because Jonathan Taylor's on his bench. Eckler, JT, and ETN as running backs. His wide receiver stable: CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Jordan Addison, Adam Thielen. Like, what more could you want?
You could want slightly better receivers. I take Keenan Allen and Tyreek Hill, but
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's like saying, hey, do you want like a gold ring or a gold necklace? Like, we're still talking about the gold standard. So all right, we've made it. So I predicted. Let me just be clear. Window, James, Alex, myself, and Jason Smith, which would put Scotty and Jason Smith right now. It's going to depend on points. It's going to put... Oh, jeez. The way I have it lined up, it is literally a four-way... It's a five-way tie at 8 and 6, but Alex is eliminated because he's the 6th seed.
Yeah.
So it would put Jason Smith, James, Brad, and Zach all in the conversation for the bye. Presumably it would be Jason Smith, maybe James, depending on who puts up more points. Brad also is in that. I mean, like, it could be any of them. So who knows who that bye will be. But those are the teams I have making the playoffs. And then for the wild card, it would probably be either McMillan or Window. But McMillan would have the inside track. For you picked Window, yourself. Who'd you pick out of the McMillan-Alex matchup?
I picked McMillan. And
McMillan,
I picked
Brad,
and Jason.
So,
I think that McMillan will win, but will not get the bye. I think Window will outscore McMillan by enough.
You mean the wild card?
Yeah, for the wild card. Yeah, sorry. I think that McMillan and Alex's game is going to be pretty low scoring, and we'll see if Window can outscore McMillan by, I think it's 32 or somewhere around there.
Jason, by the way, out here asking the real questions. What about a tie? We haven't considered the possibility.
That's why we have decimal scoring. That will not happen.
If I hope as a fan of chaos, I truly hope we get our first tie in decimal history this week. It would make everything wonderful.
Or not even a tie. A tie on points scored. What's the next tiebreaker? How likely would that be?
Well, I don't know how that would factor in with like win. It would go to win percentages first, I would assume, but I don't know how if a tie gets into any of these teams' records. But I really don't know. You're talking about like if both teams have the same total points scored. If like the 6 and
7 team had the same points scored, yeah.
I don't know what the next tiebreaker is. I guess we would find out.
Yeah.
Jerry wants to know how it would affect the standings if he wins. Let me see really quick. Hold on. Damn, Jerry, you're at 5-9. You're above me in Window at that point if we both lose. I will, Brad, commit to displaying the Sacco for a year if I lose it all, as any person should. But really quickly, last thing I'll say is, Scotty, your standings have you and Brad getting the buys. And then it would be Jason Smith and Zach at the 3 and 4 seeds. James would be the 5 seed by virtue of points scored, and like you said, you had Window as the wild card.
Yeah.
So those are our predictions, and that is our last podcast before we get to the playoffs.
Let's go, baby.
So in less than 50 minutes, we're out of here before 10. Thank you all. I can't thank you enough. Like I said, I got to get Scotty back on the pod because apparently it's good for business. 7 concurrent views. I know that like it's a really low number in the grand scheme of things, but listen, journey of 1,000 miles starts with single step, and that's where we are. We made a single step tonight. We got 7 concurrent views, which is a record, I think, maybe. We appreciate you guys popping off in the chat. And I really, really hope that all of you perform extremely well, except for Jason Smith and Scotty. So yeah, that's our show. Anything else to leave them with, Scotty?
No. Good luck to everybody, and see you in 2 weeks when my games actually matter.
Scotty's a legend, but I hate him so much. And I'll close with this, Brad, the last one in the chat, saying Bama gonna win it all. Boo. Boo. All right. Good luck in your matchups. Good luck to the teams competing, and hopefully I score 400 points. See ya!